Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Gita Dhyanam. Om Partaya Pradibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadhyashadyayani Ambatvamanusandhatami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshini Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkrupatamaham Vande Paramanandamadavam. I'll chant slokas 7, 8, 9, and of course you all can chant in mute mode. Chitatmananda prashantasya, Chitatmana prashantasya Paramatma samahitaha Shidoshna sukha dukkeshu Tatamana pamanayoho Jnana vijnana triptatma Kutasto vijitendriyaha Yukta yuchyate yogi Samaloshthashma kanchanaha Suhrun mitrar yudasina Madhyastadveshya bandhushu Sadhushvapi cha papeshu Samabuddhir vishishyate. So far we have seen what is meditation, what it is not. And then we saw the first 6 slokas of Bhagavan telling us who is actually the meditator. And in that, of course, he has assured that, all of us doing our karma yoga are qualified to start the meditation. And over a period of time, we will become yoga ruda. And our mind will become our own friend. That he has assured. And then Bhagavan took us to the next topic of preparing ourselves for meditation. And before actually giving us the whole suite of instructions for preparing ourselves, he wants to incent us, showing us the end game. And he highlighted glory of yogi in that. And there we saw in those 3 slokas which we just chanted that how the yogi is Chidatma. He is actually controlled, all his instruments are controlled. Then is Prashanta, he is so peaceful, he is Samahitaha, he is equanimous, with respect to all the Sidoshna, Sukha, Dukkeshu, all the heat and cold, whether it's body related, whether it's mind related or intellect related. He is actually maintains that equanimous. And he also, jnana vijnana triptatma, content with the knowledge as well as the wisdom. And of course, he's a kutastha. So that also is highlighted. Like that, various points Bhagavan has highlighted with respect to the glory of yogi. That way, we will have the end game in mind and start listening to him and start practicing the meditation process. So before he starts the meditation process, he gave this incentive, and then he starts the preparation. And we saw in the last session, in the first part of the preparation, from 10th to 14th, and we saw in detail the first 4 slokas. 14th actually we just entered. So what we'll do is we quickly recap that and then see 14 in a little more detail, and then move on to the next part of the preparation, which will be 15 to 17, and then we'll get into process of meditation. So that's the game plan for today. So in the preparation part 1, he first starts with the general advice for all of us. So for a yogi, a general advice, general set of advice, so that we can reach that highest goal. Yogi yunjita satatam atmanam rahasi stitah ekaki yata chittatma nirashira parigraha. So this yogi, the meditator, we are all called yogi already. It's as soon as you enter into the first year medical college, you're a doctor. So like that way, we are all meditator. We even though we have not reached that final state, the highest goal, we are working towards the goal. So he's calling it as yogi. Yogi yunjita satatam. Satatam, constantly. He engages his mind. How? Rahasi stitaha. So remaining alone in solitude, ekaki, alone in solitude, and yada chitta atma, with controlled body and mind, and also nirashi, and aparigraha. Nirashira parigraha, last word in the second line. So free from the desire. The seat of meditation, we should not be bothered with some other desire. Oh, this is to-do list. Oh, this is actually what will happen to that possession or that property or that, or task. All those things actually we should be free from, so that is what he's emphasizing. And with that is the meditator meditates. So these are all general instructions. Rahasi, stitaha, ekaki, yata chittatma, and nirashihi, and aparigraha. So general tips he has given. Now he goes to specific, and in the next 2 slokas, he talks about the place and the seat and so on. And then afterwards, in the other 2 slokas, he starts with the posture, as we have seen. So let's quickly review that. Shushau dehe pratisthapya sthiramasanam natyustritam nati nitam kailajina kushotaram. Shuchau dehe pratisthapya. So clean place that we emphasized, last time. It should be very clean, and preferably, altar. I'm sure most of us or all of us have the prayer room. So that will be the ideal place. Otherwise, any clean place. And if you're traveling and all that, you can find a clean place, clean spot in your wherever you're staying. And then in that, you should be firmly established. Your seat should be firm. So, we saw if it is actually too much of cushioning effect, then it will have its own effect. At the same time, it should not be too hard also. And also, it should not be too high and too low. Natyuchtritam, nati nicham. So it should not be too high and it should not be too low also. And what kind of seat? Actually, those days we saw actually, they use this kusha grass, and then on that they cover the skin and then a cloth. But we can use our own blanket or very comfortable, and at the same time it should not be too soft or too hot. So we saw that in detail. Then, having set up this seat in that place, what do we do? Then the instruction goes. See, one thing what we can observe in this chapter, Bhagavan will say, okay, these are all, you do this, and then do meditate. And then you do this, and then do meditate, like that. And every time you'll bring in a different aspect, and then you will say, okay, meditate now, like this. So that will be the kind of the pattern, you give some instructions, and then do this, like that. So having set up this seating arrangement in the Shushodehe and Pratistapya and our own asanam, etc., etc., what do I do? That is actually highlighted in this next sloka. Tatraikagram mana kritva yadachitendriya kriyah upavishyasane yunjat yogamatma vishuddhaye tatra ekagram mana kritva. So the mind should be single pointed. What is single pointed mind means? Actually, we'll have a lot of thoughts. Of course, any point in time, there are so many thoughts are going on in our mind. We all know, right? So, but at the seat of meditation, we should be in a position to filter out as many thoughts as possible as we keep progressing in our session, in the meditative session. And of course, it will not happen on the day one, and it will not happen in the first month, and for a few months also. But we have to be constantly at it. And when we constantly at it and then keep on filtering out all the unwanted thoughts, and then having one thought, single pointed, that is single pointed. And what is that thought? We'll see that. And then afterwards, of course, the next stage comes. And that is what actually is doing. Okay, now having you find the right place and the right kind of seating arrangement, and then the ekagraham mana kritva. If it's single pointed, you meditate, controlling the activities of the mind and sense organs. You yadachitendriya kriya. Upavishya asane yunja, that is in your own seat, being seated on the seat, practice dhyana yoga. So that is the next instruction he is giving after setting up the seat. But he has not given anything about the posture so far. That's what actually is highlighted in the 13th sloka, which also we saw. Samam kaya shino grivam dharayan chalam stiraha. Samam kaya shiro grivam. So samam, all, in equal kaya shira grivam. Your kaya body, your and shira, your head, and grivam, neck, all these things should be straight. And of course, those days and even these days also, some of us actually are capable of sitting down on the floor with the legs crossed, and so that we'll have the maximum base. And on that maximum base, it will be a lot more steady, right? When we have the maximum base. So that is preferable, but of course not all of us can sit down on the floor. So the sitting on the chair also is definitely is an option. And there again, we should make sure that the legs don't cross, the feet actually, both the feet touch the floor, and your back is actually not leaning on the back of the chair. It should be straight, and your back and the head and the neck should be straight, etc. All these things we should ensure. So all these things are implied here. Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayan nachalam stira. So dharayan, the holding on to the nachalam. So there's no wobbling. It should be very still. So like that we should be. And where should the eyes be? What should the eyes be doing? It should not be fully closed. It should be, we saw that, it should be slightly open, and as if it is gazing at the tip of the nose. That will be one position. So that way, dishacha anavalokayan, without looking around, then you can avoid looking around. And when you have that kind of a posture with eyes actually, focused on the tip of the nose, again, you should not take it literally tip of the nose, and then you will start searching for the tip of the nose. You will never be able to see the tip of the nose, because but the idea is actually, have the eyes steady, slightly open, and don't be looking around. Eyes should not be, even if your head is not turning around, your eyes should not be turning around. So all these things are implied here in this posture. And having given this instruction elaborately, then next is what? Do. And that's what he's actually saying. And this is how the nature of the meditator should be. This is where we were actually last time. So, Prashantatma Vigatabhi Brahmachari Prite Stitaha Mana Samyamya Machittaha Yukta Asida Matparaha. Shantatma. So Shantatma, must be reveling in terms of inward silence. The Shantatma. So it should be actually joyful. You should be contented. At the seat of meditation, when we go there, we should be calm. We should be actually satisfied. We should be contented. There may be a number of things that may be going on in the outside of that half-hour slot. But when it comes to that half-hour slot, it is my half-hour dedicated time, and I'm not going to have any of those bothering thoughts. And that kind of a contented and feeling we should have in a calm way. And then that is where actually we should keep our mind. That is Prashant Atma. Vigata Bihi, it should not be there should not be any fear also. So fear can be, of course, from at various levels and different ways. Actually, one can feel fear. If he is not in a safer place, and if he is somewhere in the forest or some park or something, and on the other day they were showing that in the backwoods they were seeing bear also coming. So that kind of a fear should not be there. That is one type of fear. The other type of fear, as we advance, the teaching says that you are not this body, mind, intellect, and you are that Satchidananda, and you have to move your thought from outward to inward towards that your true self. When that kind of a teaching comes, and then when you go to that advanced stage in the meditation, as you progress, there'll be a fear, oh, what will happen to my body, mind, intellect? Or what will happen to all the, my family, my property, my, my company, or whatever? That kind of a fear also may come. That kartritva bhava should not be there. That kind of a fear also is mentioned here. So prashantatma vigatabihi brahmachari vrite stitaha. So at that seat of meditation, no indecent thought should come. As a brahmachari, where there is no other desires for any other external things, and just focused on the teaching, and that as a brahmachari, how you will behave. So that is the way actually you should be at the seat of meditation. Mana samyamya machitaha. That is, you have your mind turned from outside to inside. When we say inside, okay, there should be something to hold on, right? And that is where the machitaha comes in. Turn the mind towards Paramatma. That way, you all your thoughts you'll be able to filter out. When you focus your thought, one thought on Paramatma, then of course, as I said, it will take some time, but over a period of time, as we practice, and keep Paramatma in the mind, then that thought only will be there. Then so-called the single-pointed thing which we talked about in the previous sloka will happen. So like that, a yogi meditates. So having selected the place, a proper seat, and then posture, then do this meditation with Prashantatma Vigatabihi Brahmachari Vrittistitaha. So with this, actually, the first part of the preparation we saw. And now the next part, the 15th to 17th, 15th, 16th, 17th. So there, Bhagavan actually talks about the lifestyle. So far, as you've seen, what place to choose, what time. We discussed about time also. Early morning is better, and so on. And what seating arrangement, what posture, and how one should withdraw the senses and have the mind single-pointed, and we should have the intellectual conviction. We should not have any fear. All these things we talked about. So many instructions Bhagavan gave. That is at the seat of meditation. Now, that at the seat of meditation, when we have to follow all these things, outside of this meditation also, one question came up in the last session, the other 23 and a half hours or 23 hours, whatever number of times you're doing meditation, so minus that hours, should be also, that lifestyle should help us to get the best effect in during the seat of meditation, at the seat of meditation. So what should be that lifestyle? That also, Bhagavan tells us in two slokas, that is the 16th and 17th. But before that, 15th, again, because he's going to address the lifestyle, is now giving an incentive. No, this is how the last lap will be. And that actually is highlighting in the 15th sloka. So can we chant this 15th sloka?
युञ्जन्नेवं सदात्मानं योगी नियतमानसः निर्वाणपरमां संस्थामधिगच्छति.
Yunjannevam sadatmanam. Sadatmanam. Constantly. Yunjannevam. This yogi, meditator, keeping the mind constantly, practicing this meditation. Controlled mind, with the controlled mind. Yogi niyata manasa. Niyata manasa, with the controlled mind, like what we discussed. One, if it does that, what is the end game? What is that he will gain in the last lap? Now, again, as we all know, in anything, the last lap matters, right? As they say, the last lap always matters in the race, or the last dollar of investment matters in the business, and always the last lap matters. So Bhagavan is actually fast forwarding that over a period of time, if you do this constantly this way, then what will you gain? And that actually is highlighted in Shantim Matsamstham Nirvana Parama. So you will attain, you will gain Adhigachati, you will gain, you will reach there, Adhigachati, you will gain that what? In the peace of abiding in Paramatma, which will help us culminate in liberation. So that picture is painting, that will be the last lap. Now, when that last lap will happen, that of course varies. We will keep, some of us will keep on running for months, years, and maybe some janmas also, because we have so much of accumulated things to get rid of the habitual errors, what we say, erroneous notions, what we have seen before. And that Viparita Bhavana is there, built up over a period of time. So that will take its own time to get eliminated. And depending upon that, the last step will, in what happens the last step, that Bhagavan is giving now. Now, which is of course the ultimate desired state, what we are all working on, ultimate liberation we will get. Now, having incented this, then in the 16th and 17th, Bhagavan is telling what should be our lifestyle towards this. Now, let's chant 16th and 17th together. Sixteenth and 17th.
नात्यश्नतस्तु योगोऽस्ति न चैकान्तमनश्नतः न चाति स्वप्नशीलस्य जाग्रतो नैव चार्जुन युक्तहारविहारस्य युक्तचेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्तस्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः.
Beautiful. So, what Bhagavan is highlighting here is a very important tip for us to follow in our lifestyle. In the 16th sloka, he is actually telling what we should not be doing. And of course, in the 17th sloka, the Karvala, what are all the things what we should be doing so that the meditation becomes effective. Now, let us see one by one. O Arjuna, the last word in the second line, when he says, O Arjuna, and of course, he is calling all of us. You know, we have to put our name there. So it's for all of us. O Arjuna, yogaha na asti, the middle word in the first line, yogaha na asti. Meditation is not possible. For whom? Adyasnataha tu, the first word, na adyasnataha tu, the first word, the first line. Tu, indeed, verily, yoga is not possible. Yoga na asti. For whom? Adyasnataha, one who eats too much. So if we have the habit of eating too much, you know, which even especially at this time, when we are all at home only, something or other always actually we want, you know. And there was actually one WhatsApp message that, you know, I've done this, I've eaten this, and this still the day is not over, like that. So, you know, the environment actually also, you know, is creating in such a way that, you know, we are induced to do such kind of activities. So this is a great checkpoint for us. So we should avoid eating too much, eat only moderately, if he is going to say that. So it is not yogaha na asti for the one who eats too much. Now, and immediately he says, nacha ekantam anashnataha, and is not suitable for one who does not eat also. You know, you should not be starving also. That is also not good. So basically, of course, we all know we should eat moderately, but, you know, there are some people, you know, who does not eat, you know, in the name of some of the fasting and all that. You know, Gurudev actually tells one very humorously, Monday is for Lord Shiva, so I'm fasting. Tuesday is for Hanumanji, I'm fasting. And Thursday is for Guru, I'm fasting. Friday is for Devi, I'm fasting. And Saturday is for Balaji Venkateshwara, I'm fasting, etc., etc. And then there comes Ekadasi, which comes every other Wednesday. So that means actually, you know, people actually take that and then the fast. That is also not good, and that's not going to help in terms of at the seat of meditation. So meditation is not going to be possible for such people. Nacha ekantam anashnataha. Then also that is about the food. Now he is actually addressing the sleep also. That is in the second line. Nacha adi swapnashilasya. One who sleeps too much. Now we know some people actually, especially around this time, you know, so tempted to sleep because there's no requirement to get up at early morning and then drive on 400. Unless you start at 6 o'clock, 6:30, then you will not reach your destination for work on time. But we tend to be tempted. No, you should not sleep too much. You should be able to moderate that also. Ati swapna shilasya. And at the same time, jagradaha na eva. Who is always awake all the time, not sleeping at all. That is also not good. So you should not be too much awake, keep yourself awake, or you should not too much sleep. You should not eat too much. You should not at the same time be starving. So regulate. The keyword is regulate or moderate. So Arjuna, you have to do that. That is important actually in terms of, especially when it comes to sleeping and eating, especially he has taken that now. Now, in the next verse is extending this to the other activities also, which we already chatted. Yukta ahara viharasya. Yukta, that is, the ahara viharasya. The one who is actually yukta, moderate. Here this sloka is more of the positive way of putting it. You were saying if you do this, you will don't do this. Otherwise, it will not help you in meditation. Here, you do this, it will help you in meditation. To the one who is actually moderate in eating, and also ahara viharasya, aharam as well as viharasya, and other activities. Moderate in other activities like recreation or you should not be all the time in the golf course. You need some recreation or in the tennis court, but at the same time you should be moderate in that. Yukta ahara viharasya. So you should be moderate in eating and moderate in other activities. Yukta seshtasya karmasu. So in our duty also or other actions also, we should not be exerting too much. Some people have the habit of, as working 18-20 hours a day. They take pride in that. I've been in the office till 7:30, and the boss will call only at 7:30 in the evening to the office number to check whether he is working. There are some bosses also like that. And especially with all the globalization, there's no concept of, the work hours. It's all 7/24. Some calls are other here and there, this country calling that country and so on. And in the process, actually, we exert ourselves too much. And there's no regulation. So no, that should not be the case. It should be regulated at work hours, regulated action. That is important. Now one may ask, is it very practical? Of course, we have to manage that. I mean, this has got a lot of implication, not only with respect to meditation, but even for other things also, as we know. So that's why Bhagavan is advising, regulate your action also. Don't exert too much. Don't become tired. When you exert yourself and you become tired at the seat of meditation, it will not be effective. You'll automatically go to sleep. So that who is actually regulated in sleeping and waking, yukta swapnas, swapnavabodhasya. So those who are actually regulated in sleeping and waking, yogo bhavati dukkha. He can meditate and destroy the sorrowness, dukkha. He can destroy the sorrowness. Those who moderate this. So that is highlighted in the 17th and 18th. I'm sorry, 16th and 17th. Now, so this concludes the topic, subtopic, the preparation topic. So let's quickly take a checkpoint. So the first one, what is meditation and who is a meditator? Then in the second one, elaborate description about the preparation in terms of the physical, the external preparation, as well as internal preparation. External preparation in terms of place, seat, etc., 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 and the environment, the time, etc. And then internally, the mind, how the mind should be, and how the The conviction should be, there should not be any fear. There should not be any desire. There should not be any possession, etc. So much things Bhagavan has mentioned. And then in between, of course, he is given some incentives also. If you do all these things, then you will benefit. And then, of course, he concluded with the topic of, what should be your lifestyle to complement, supplement this time of meditation to be more effective. What should be your lifestyle? That also is mentioned. As you can see, there's an elaborate manual. Of course, we can talk about this in so many other detailed way also, but you get the idea. Now, with this, let's enter into the process of meditation, which is another important topic. Now, before we enter into the process of meditation, which is actually from 18th verse to 25th, that's what we're targeting to see today. And he's going to talk elaborately in various aspects of this process of meditation, and including what to meditate on, and including what are the stages of progress one can measure as we go through this process. All these things he's going to talk about in this set of slokas, right? And before we go there, then I want to introduce briefly the concept. Meditation we already saw, but I want to just quickly recap, because we are going to start the process. So we should actually keep in our mind what meditation means, so that we'll be able to understand and relate and implement it as we study these slokas, right? So for that, I want to introduce a concept. Now, maybe a few minutes I will take, and then we'll go to 18 to 25. And I understand that some of us have already studied Vedanta, or studying, and some of us may be somewhat new to Vedanta. So just to give the concept in a very high level, let me start a couple of points. So we saw the meditation is actually to remove the erroneous notion, to remove the habitual errors, right? We saw in the first class. That is, we have listened the scriptures, we have also reflected on the teachings, but it is not sinking in me. The intellect knows now. It has got the knowledge, but it is not sunken in me in such a way that I can really practice it, or I can implement it. It has not become a wisdom, right? So why? That is because of some of the habitual errors. Over a period of time, we are all in different aspects of our life. We all have these habitual errors called erroneous notions. Just to give you an example, closely watch this 10 seconds video clip, and then we'll expand on that.
Today, start working on not touching your face, because one main way viruses spread is when you touch your own mouth, nose, or eyes.
See? So that's the habitual error. We are used to, doing this from the childhood onwards, maybe. When we turn the page, then put your finger in the nose, you wet it, and then that way turning the page becomes easier, right? That is the way actually we are used to. So that has become an habitual error. Why now it is an habitual error? Because we learned that virus will spread this way, right? That you should not touch your mouth, then virus will go in. That study shows, and we learned. We have been reading it, all the news from all angles, and we have also reflected. Reflected in the sense that we told the other, hey, you're touching your face, you're touching your mouth, like that. We are telling the others also, right? But when it comes to us practicing it, then we make this mistake. That's because of the habitual error, right? Now, what to talk about the habitual error, what we have been accumulating for ages together, right? For janmas together. Even though the Shastra says, we have learned it through Shravanam, that we are Sachit Ananda. Our true nature is Sachit Ananda. Existence, consciousness, bliss. That eternal bliss is us. So that is our true self. Even though scriptures say that, Vedanta tells us, Vedanta is at the Veda Anta, end of Vedas. So the Jnana part, it clearly tells us, Aham Brahmasmi. I am that supreme Brahman. Mahavakya. Tattvamasi, you are that. Like that, the scriptures say that. But we have learned, we have listened to our gurus, we have studied the scriptures, and we have reflected on that, but we are not able to abide in our true self. When it comes to the day-to-day transactions, we still identify ourselves with our body, mind, intellect, and then become, this ahankara, this entity called Siva Velu, right? And put your name there. That is how we identify ourselves. But it doesn't mean that we should not use this instrument in the day-to-day transaction. But if we are able to use this instrument, body, mind, intellect, in the day-to-day transactions, at the same time, be identified with our true self, and that is the goal, right? And that is not happening, even though we learned it from Shastra, we reflected on it, is not happening because of this erroneous notion. And in order to address this erroneous notion, one has to contemplate. This lady has to contemplate and saying that, hey, yes, I have this habitual error. I have to eliminate that. She has to take some time off and sit in a corner and then assert herself. Have learned this through the CDC report. And I've also reflected on it, but it is not sunk in me. So I have to make sure that it sinks in me. That kind of assertion in a corner, she should actually sit down and then contemplate on that. And that is the aspect actually we're trying to highlight here, where it comes to we abiding in our true self.
Today,
that's what actually we saw in the first class, that our intellect knows, but it doesn't, we are through Shravanam and Mananam, but Nidityasanam, meditation, which we call as Vedantic meditation, that only is going to help us to assert our true self at the seat of meditation. And again, to recap, we are not learning anything new from meditation, right? We are only asserting what we have learned through Shravanam and what we have reflected in Mananam. Right? So that assertion takes place in the seat of meditation. Having said this, let me take a couple of more slides in terms of expanding on one concept. As we all know, our mind is flow of thoughts, right? I mean, thought one comes, then thought two comes, then thought three comes, and so on. Like that, it just keeps on, even though it looks as if there are multiple thoughts at the same time, but actually it is one thought at a time. So thought one, thought two, thought three, and so on, it comes, right? So we can define that our thought, our mind is a flow of thought. And at any point in time, if we take a sample, that particular thought, if you really analyze, it is about an object. When I say object, it could be about a physical object like laptop or watch or whatever, or it could be about a situation, or it could be about people, right? That is how the thought is. So if you take a sample at any point in time, that particular thought is on that particular object or person or situation. Now, for that thought to manifest in our mind, there should be something else also called sentiency. Unless we have this sentiency, the consciousness, the thought cannot happen, because the dead body, it has got mind, a physical mind, it has got, but the brain it has got, but there's no sentiency there for thought to happen. So the consciousness is the substratum that illumines that particular thought, that particular object, which becomes a thought. So in other words, if you take T1, a thought, then there is consciousness, which is as a substratum, then comes the object. So the T1 is C plus O1, object 1. In this case, again, object, when I say, it could be a physical object or a person or a situation, right? T2, another thought comes. That's about another object, O2. C will be the same. That consciousness will be the same. You know, another usual example is the light is there, and because of the light only, you are able to see this hand. But when you see the hand, you only see the, you only recognize this hand. But you know, when you inquire, then you know this light is there always. And whether this hand is there or not, the light is always there. Now, this is about object 1. And then object 2, then object 3, and so on, right? Now, at the seat of meditation, when we say go outward to inward, what happens? We are actually trying to filter out all the external objects coming to our mind. So right now, you know, in the outside of the seat of meditation, there may be a number of thoughts. So there's a to-do list. There's I have to do some driving. I have to take care of making the phone call. I have to take care of you know, making breakfast. You know, all these things are there. So many thoughts. But at the seat of meditation, one by one, you are trying to eliminate. Go out from outward. You're trying to go inward. So you're trying to minimize the number of objects that are actually popping up in your mind. So slowly, at every stage, this you focus on this object, and that you get rid of. Bring, instead of 10 thoughts at a time, now you reduce it to 5 thoughts or 4 thoughts, right? And after some weeks or months, the seat of meditation, you will be able to. On day 1, you will not be able to. On month 1 also, you will not be able to. You know, in fact, in the first couple of months, we're able to sit there for 10 minutes without moving your body. That itself is a great achievement. But over a period of time, then we will be able to bring our mind from outside towards inside by reducing this number of thoughts that are going on, by filtering out them. And slowly, that thought becomes minimum. From 10, it may become 4, then it may become 3, it may become, then that when it comes to 1, have that 1 pointed out towards Paramatma, like what we saw in the previous sloka. And then what happens? There comes a stage where only that awareness is there. There will be a stage, and that is abiding your true self. So that is the concept actually. Brahmakara vritti will be the aham brahmasmi. That vritti also will merge into this awareness, which is your true self. So that is actually the effect of teaching. And what happens, and when that happens, you know, Bhagavan will say the benefits and all that. But you get the idea. There's this concept, if you have in mind, then subsequent slokas, it becomes a lot more easier to follow. And of course, you know, it's not that easy. This is Vedanta. You know, it's not easy to accept it, and you have to study, and that's why so many scriptures are there, and you know, etc. But at the 50,000 feet high, I want to put this so that, you know, subsequent slokas, it becomes easier somewhat to follow. And then, and what will be the benefits also when you see what Bhagavan says, then you will be tempted to, you know, work on more and more constant meditation and so on. So with that, let's chant this 18th sloka, Shekhar. 18.
Yada viniyatam chittam atmanyevavatisthate nispruha sarva kamebhyah Yukta ityuchyate tada
Yeah.
yatha deepo nivatastha ningate sopama smruta yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmanah.
Great. So these two slokas set the stage for process of meditation. In the 18th sloka, Bhagavan tells us about the yuktaha, the when that person is said to be a yogi, when he is said to be united, yuktaha. So again, the typical style of Bhagavan, before he starts the instructions, then he tells, okay, now let me tell you the end game, where you're going. This is how the yuktaha means. This is what yuktaha means. And this is what he will be meditating upon. And that he tells, and then gives an example in the 19th sloka, and then moves to the process. So that way, our attention is there. Oh, that's going to be the state of yogi. And that is the example. Oh, I can see that. Now that's what I want to achieve. And hence I will go through the process. That's the style, right? So here in this sloka, Bhagavan says that yada viniyatam chittam. And the mind is, actually viniyatam. Viniyatam is controlled, is directed from outward to inward, like minimizing the number of thoughts that was agitating our mind with so many objects, and reducing that slowly over a period of time, and then diverting it towards inside. So that kind of a mind is called as vinyatam. And sarva kamebhya nispruha, and free from all objects which we saw, that O becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. Such a mind established in the self, in the true self. Atmani eva avatishtate. When that mind actually establishes from outward to inward, and in that awareness, when the mind is dissolves into that, then that person becomes yuktaha. Then he is said to be yukta. At that time, what happens to the mind? The mind becomes, one with the Lord. Aham brahmasmi. That thought also gets merged with that awareness. So that stage is yuktaha. Like the example in the next sloka, which he just now chanted, yatha deepo nivatastaha. Yatha deepo nivatastaha na ingate. Ingate is actually shaking, like a lamp. Nivatastaha is actually, placed in a, breezeless, windless location. If we place a candle in a place where there's no fan, there's no breeze, etc., how the flame will be steady. Gurudev actually explains very nicely. I wish I can show some of his clips, but it's a very dramatically he puts it in this particular example. But you can imagine. So that, like that lamp, the flame actually is so steady in a breezeless place. Like that simile is remembered. He himself, Bhagavan himself is saying, you should remember that simile. Sa upama smruta. You remember that simile, that example you remember to describe the mind of the yogi. You may ask question, Arjuna will ask question, or we all will ask question. Okay, what will be the state of that mind of that yogi? It is steady. There is no agitation. There is no the discontentment. There's no all raga, dvesha, etc. This is steady, and that is the example which he is giving, and for the person who is actually yunjate yoga matmanaha, who is absorbed in the self, who is absorbed in the true self, in the awareness. That is the state of the mind that is given. Now, 18th and 19th, as I said, Bhagavan gives this picture of Yuktaha with an example. Now, he starts the process. 20th to 23rd, 4 verses, actually talks about the various stages in the process. How the mind becomes quietude, then how he becomes this, and so on. And then question may come, then, hey, I understand that this is the process, but I'm not able to concentrate. How will I be able to concentrate? That he explains in the 24th and 25th. So we're going to see those slokas also. So let us chant the 20th and 21st first.
Yatro paramate chittam niruddham yoga sevaya yatra chaivatmanatmanam pashyannatmati tushyati sukhamatyantikam yattad buddhigrayam atindriyam veti yatra na chaivayam titaschalati tattvataha.
Beautiful. So let's take the 20th first, where the stage 1, we can call it, talks about the mind becoming quietude. And then, of course, the other stages in 21, 22, and so on. Now, here, yatra uparamate chittam. When the mind will attain quietude, niruddham yoga sevaya. Niruddham is to control niruddham, to withdraw the mind, to restrain the mind. So once that is one state of mind. There are 5 states are defined. See, one of the states is actually mura, the laziness also, right? And like that, different stages are there. Niruddham and ekaki is the 2 stages where really the meditation becomes very effective. When time is there, some other time in the next session, I will talk about in detail if there is time. But niruddham is one of the stages, that is the ultimate stage of withdrawing the mind and controlling the mind. And at the seat of meditation, when we practice this, withdrawing the mind, constraining the mind, then yatra chaiva atmana. So at that time, the mind actually, as aham brahmasmi, self alone is by the self. By the small self is you, you and me. And you and me are asserting at the time of seat of meditation that yatra chaiva atmana, seeing that self, or asserting that I am the true self. Asserting that by whom? By the small self. And that yogi revels in that when the mind actually becomes quietude. So that is the first step. So first step is actually important, because unless the mind is quietude, then, which means, it has to be single pointed, which means it has to be only having single thought, aham brahmasmi. And unless that quietude is there, then we'll not be able to proceed further, right? So to get to that quietude, again, all this preparation has to be done, and the time scale will vary. The timeline will vary, right? Depending on how much we have accumulated and how serious we are, and so on. That will be decided by that. Now, next, let us see this sloka where he is saying, in the next stages, he remains established in that. Now, the previous sloka, the quietude will help in terms of the self asserting, the small self asserting with respect to the true self. That aham brahmasmi, that one thought will help in terms of asserting my true self. Now, how do I remain established? That is the next step. So here, that which is the supreme self, that supreme bliss, which is actually that awareness, is recognized by the intellect. When that intellect actually is restrained, intellect is part of the mind, right? When that outward to inward, it is gone and attained that quietude, and over a period of time, it gets established in that awareness. I am veti sthitaha, remains established. It will happen. Bhagavan is giving guarantee that it will happen. We'll have to be at it. And when we are at it, this establishing ourselves on that awareness will happen. And at that stage, that yogi, nacha eva jalati tatvataha. He never moves away from the self. There are some Mahatmas, as you can see, the moment actually they sit down over a period of time, because they have practiced it, the moment they are able to sit down and they are able to get into that samadhi, right? From various thoughts, immediately they will be able to filter, and then savikalpa samadhi, then go into nirvikalpa samadhi, which I'll explain that in the next session. That progress happens over a period of time for the yogi who was quietened the mind in the previous step. So that is assuring, Bhagavan is assuring as a next stage. Okay. Now, the next two slokas again talks about the further steps in this process. 22 and 23, let us chant.
Yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadhikam tataha yasmin sthito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate tam vidya dukkha sanyoga viyogam yoga sannitam sanishchayena yoktavyaha yogo nirvinna chetasa.
Great. So in the 22nd, having established in that state, the yogi recognizes that is the highest gain he can think of. See, one is being established, okay? Then it should be convincing also, that intellectual conviction should be there that that is the highest goal. Yam labdva cha labham. The labham, the gain is the highest. Aparam manyate na adhikam tatah. There is no other gain which is greater than this, adhikam than this. There is no other superior to this. That he realizes once he is established. Yasmin sataha. Established in that, what happens when he recognizes that this is the highest gain, what he can think of. This is the highest labham. This is the maximum profit, right, so to speak. Once he knows that this is the maximum profit actually one can think of, then whatever the other pinpricks, even if it is small or big, if any pinprick, he is not affected by that. Guruna api dukkena na vichalyate. He is not affected because this is the highest gain he has attained, and all the other pinpricks and all that, he can handle it. Whatever may be the size of the pin or intensity of the pinprick, it doesn't matter. because I have the highest profit with me. I have the highest gain. Yam labdva cha labam aparam manyate na adhigam tataha. He never thinks. Manyat na manyate. He never thinks that there is any other thing greater than this. So that's why, you see Mahatmas and all that, they will be always reveling in that. Whatever happens in this world, they are contented, they are happy. And of course, it doesn't mean that they're keeping quiet. They will do the actions, whatever is needed, they will do the actions. But internally, they'll always be contented. They know that they have the highest bliss. They are abiding in the highest bliss. And hence all these things are small pinpricks here and there. And they will deal with that pinprick. And the world actually will go on. And like Guruji says in one of the composition, Yedet jagad dukkha rupam purasit tadeva dunananda rupam hi bhati. Yedet jagat dukkham. Same world which is appearing as dukkham, full of dukkham, sorrow. Tadeva aduna, that same aduna now, immense happiness. He deals with that. Mahatma, he doesn't, he knows that, world will be like this only, but he deals with it because he has got the highest bliss on his side. And with that, all these pinpricks are taken care. So that is the next stage. Now, and then he goes to the 24th sloka, where he talks about disassociation from the association with pain. It's a very famous sloka. Tam vidyat dukkha sanyoga viryogam. So at this stage, actually, what he disassociates himself. He had been associating with himself with the pain all the time, because the body, mind, intellect means it is with the pain. Well, there's of course happiness, there's of course sorrow also, but net is actually that pain is there, right? You call it as happiness, or you call it as, the moment you feel happiness, some other time it will be sorrow. That association with the pain is disassociating himself. Tam vidyat dukkha samyoga viyogam. So that takes place at this stage. And that stage is the yogi. That is actually the yoga sangeetam. So he defines this as a yoga, where he is able to come to this stage of the process, where he is able to disassociate himself of his previous association with the sorrow. So that is how the yoga should be practiced, stage by stage. You will see the progress. And of course, he has given 4 milestones, but to get to each one of these milestones and cross that milestone, obviously, we'll have to work on it. Now, how do I do it? To put in effort, and I have to have the concentration, the seat of meditation, etc., etc. How do I do that? That also he tells us in the, give some tips in the next 2 slokas, 24th and 25th. Let us chant that.
Sankalpa prabhavan kaman tyakva sarvana sheshataha manasaivendriyagramam niyamya samantataha shanai shanairuparame buddhya dhruti gruhitaya atmasamsthammana kritva nakinchidapi chintaye.
Great. So how can we practice concentration? So that you very often quoted slokas, this one, these 2. So let us quickly see that one. Sankalpa prabhavan sarvan kaman tyaktva asheshataha. Asheshataha, abandoning all what? All sarvan kaman. Tattva asheshataha. Completely, asheshataha is completely Tektva, abandoning, Sarvan Kaman, all desires, where are they coming from? Sankalpa Prabhavan, coming from the fancy imagination. So all this fancy imagination, which we all have because of our built-in vasanas, the opening balance with which we came, and then we started accumulating also over a period of time, that set of vasanas just keeps now and then fructifying in terms of this fancy imagination. Gurudev gives a beautiful example, which we'll see in a minute. And those kind of desires have to be all eliminated. When it says Sarvan Kaman, now does it mean that all desires have to be eliminated? No, no, no. Let's listen to Gurudev. So then, once such Sarvan Kaman, which is actually coming out of this Sankalpa Prabhavan, is eliminated, then the mind actually gets refined, completely restraining the mind that way. So then Manasa eva saman tataha. The mind then becomes ripe enough for all angles, from all angles, to focus on that ekagraha, the single thought, and then culminating into abiding in true self. So that is the way it is building up. Now, the next, before we go to the next sloka, let's listen to Gurudev. This is a 2 minutes video.
Having given up all your existing desires, it is not a wee bit in you. Ramji, all desires cannot be good, except in the burial ground. Because if there is no desire in you, you have no business to maintain your body and survive here. There must be some purpose, some desire, or else you can't even breathe. Therefore, Krishna is not impractical. He particularly gives an adjectival clause to qualify the type of desires that you must remove. Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman. Kaman, desires, born out of Sankalpa, your own fancy. There are some desires which will come to you whether you like it or not. Why? They are the expressions of your existing vasanas. But you and I are living in this wonderful world of enchanting objects. When you see a thing, a desire that you never had before can crystallize in your bosom. This is what you call Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman. I saw a smart doctor in a beautiful posh car which his father-in-law has given to him. But you don't know it. You think that, no, son, Papa, I want to be a doctor only. He has no interest in biology. He has no. He is very good at mathematics. He would have been a beautiful engineer. No, I want to be a doctor. Now here is a desire that rose in you because of fancy, your own imagination. See, which was not in you. It is not your nature, but it is a borrowed one. You get this contagion of the other's desires into your bosom. Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman. Sarvan Tektva.
So that is
Having given.
that is the Sankalpa Prabhavan Kaman. So all our, fancy imagination trigger those desires, which we all know, so many enchanting objects are there in this world, or situations or sceneries or people, and they all actually create some kind of, that's what you should focus on, and first get rid of those things. Then automatically, it's easier to control the mind. And then how do I practice? Shanai Shanai Uparamed. Little by little, it attains the quietude. It does not happen over time. I mean, it does not happen overnight. It does take time, little by little. But as they say in football, in American football, inch by inch, right? And I think Jim Trussell, coach in Ohio State, somebody mentioned this, in one of his motivational speech.